This is definitely the most devastating loss for the national goddess Sun Ye-jin, because even after her death, she never got to see her beloved one last time. This is also the only film that I finished editing while crying, but before watching it, I want to remind everyone, those with a low tear threshold are not advised to watch, because I'm afraid you'll use up all the tissues by your bedside. If you are afraid of heart-wrenching plots, please swipe away, because the tormenting storylines inside will painfully pierce your heart. The story takes place one summer. A young man accidentally catches sight of a girl gently smelling the fragrance of flowers. He never understood what it meant to fall in love at first sight. But when he saw the girl's stunning profile, his heartbeat instantly skipped half a beat. Every smile and frown of hers seemed like a landscape painting sketched by a masterful brush. However, just as the boy was about to capture this scene, another face suddenly entered the frame. This was Soo-jin's best friend. They were close friends, always inseparable. But what they never expected was that, in the future, they would be estranged because of the boy behind them. After the two sisters left, the man still could not calm the pounding in his heart for a long time, so he resolutely rode his bicycle and followed them. But when he arrived at their place, Cheol-min felt timid again. He stopped in front of the door, never having the courage to confess to her. But thinking that he was almost 30, still single and penniless, he resolutely walked up to the two sisters.
첫눈에 반했습니다.
Faced with this sudden confession, Soo-jin was at a loss for what to do. She could only clearly feel the awkward atmosphere filling the air. In the end, she still rejected the boy's affection. But little did she know that this would become her biggest regret later on. However, after Cheol-min walked out of the restaurant, he still did not want to give up the chance to get to know Soo-jin. He stopped in front of the clock shop, and a childish idea came to his mind. The boy turned the clock back an hour, wanting to take back his earlier rashness and rudeness.
시간을 1시간 전으로 돌렸어요.
오늘 내가 한 말 다 잊었으면 좋겠네요.
Watching his endearingly silly manner, Soo-jin could not help but laugh out loud at that moment, and unconsciously developed a mysterious affection for this boy. That night, the two sisters began to talk about the feeling of being in love. They both held beautiful fantasies about love, unaware that for them, love would be built upon repeated torment that tears apart body and soul. After that, the three of them quickly got along well. They would sit together to watch ball games, and also talk about each other's hobbies. Unknowingly, both sisters were simultaneously in their hearts. Looking forward to Cheol-min's arrival, they hid in the distance and peeked at the boy tidying his appearance. His restrained manner made the two burst into laughter. They would also go to the cinema together to watch movies they both liked. However, the middle-aged man sitting behind Soo-jin inappropriately stretched out his legs, disrupting the romantic atmosphere. Cheol-min noticed this rude act. He stood up angrily and scolded the man to pull his legs back.
발 좀 치워주세요. 제 친구가 불편해합니다.
Just at that moment, Soo-jin and Tae-hyun also stood up to support him. Their unity overcame the fear in their hearts. But Cheol-min would still calm his nervousness afterward. Little did he know that it was precisely this brave act of his that made both girls beside him develop a strong fondness for him. Although, like most friends, they would experience the unique thrills at the amusement park together. Even they themselves did not know that among them, there would soon come a reluctant and tangled love triangle. That night, Soo-jin recommended the movie she had just watched to her father. But while she was recounting the plot, it sounded more like she was revealing her own feelings.
난 사랑에 빠졌어요. 어쩌면 좋죠? 너무 아파요. 그런데 계속 아프고 싶어요.
In fact, Tae-hyun also noticed that the two sisters had already fallen in love with the same man, and no matter whom Cheol-min chose afterward, it would hurt the other's heart, even though the bond between the two best friends had long surpassed ordinary friendship. When Tae-hyun saw the two acting intimately, a flicker of jealousy and astonishment still passed through her eyes. For the first time, she bore a grudge against Soo-jin, so when the other suggested staying overnight with her, she ruthlessly refused.
또 극표정이야. 약한 척 혼자 다 하고 좀만 못해주면 당장 세상 끝날 것 같은 얼굴이 나고 내가 언제까지 네 옆에만 있어줄 것 같은데 나 정이야. 그만하자. 갈게. 잘 자.
The resentment from the daytime instantly turned into sharp blade stabbing at Soo-jin. After uttering these biting words, she resolutely left, and Soo-jin clearly realized the rift between them. On the way home, Tae-hyun bit her finger hard. An endless guilt and regret surged in her heart. So she turned back. She deeply knew that the friendship with Soo-jin was not something that love could compare to. Tae-hyun, as usual, threw a stone at Soo-jin's windowsill. When Soo-jin drew back the curtain, the moment their eyes met, pure smiles appeared on both their faces. Soo-jin forgave her recklessness, because they could always understand each other's hearts without words, and could always sense what the other truly wanted. They thus reconciled, and secretly decided to get along with Cheol-min just as friends. Little did they know that what lay hidden beneath the laughter of the three was a deep regret. When the vehicle passed by the sisters' alma mater, they asked Cheol-min to stop. After many years, those youthful memories suddenly flooded their minds. To let them see the campus scenery, Cheol-min ignored the guards and forcefully entered. Feeling the gusty wind, they seemed to have returned to that innocent and ignorant youth, free from worries about making a living, and free from the troubles of love. And only at this time would the two sisters let go of their rift and laugh heartily. The next day, they came to the seaside again, freely enjoying the vast, boundless sea. The sea breeze also became a touch of romance among the three. Tae-hyun would excitedly pick up shells on the beach, and love often begins with a momentary palpitation.
겨울 귀엽지.
어떨 땐 이렇게 kokkok눌러서 잡아서 주머니에 넣고 다니고 싶은 생각이 든다니까. 기분 나쁠 때 꺼내서.
Tae-hyun's liveliness and cheerfulness had already touched the strings in Cheol-min's heart, but he did not notice at all the fleeting loss that flashed in Soo-jin's eyes, although she had rejected Cheol-min's confession earlier. After spending these days together, Soo-jin had also fallen irresistibly in love with him. But among the three, someone always had to leave first. If the two were mutually in love, then what reason did she have to join this love that would only bring her grief? Only that love in her heart was destined to become intense forbearance and restraint, sealed away in her heart. At night, Soo-jin curiously touched every inch of the boy's skin, a smile of farewell brimming on her face. But what she did not know was that, after waking up, Cheol-min would stare blankly at Tae-hyun's face, and even involuntarily steal a kiss toward her. When the fog spread widely over the mountaintop, they decided to climb the mountain to enjoy a different view. However, fate played a joke on them at this moment. The rain poured down mercilessly. Cheol-min took off his shirt to protect the two girls. They were soon amazed by the beautiful scenery at the peak, and they agreed to meet again in the next 10 years. But reality is always cruel. What they did not know was that, in the next 10 years, everything would have long changed beyond recognition. As the temperature plummeted, the rain mercilessly battered the frail and sickly Soo-jin. Her face grew paler. Cheol-min quickly carried her on his back and walked down the mountain. But her body still suffered damage in the rain. Yet even though she was weak all over, Soo-jin still stubbornly told her not to worry. After watching her fall asleep, Tae-hyun walked downstairs guiltily. She blamed herself for letting Soo-jin come on this trip with her. Unable to control her emotions, she was in tears. And watching this lively girl beside him cry, Cheol-min also felt a surge of inexplicable sadness in his heart. He did not say much, only silently stayed by this girl's side. The surrounding patter of rain gently tapped on the fine threads. The noisy sound entering their ears unexpectedly became a romantic embellishment for the two at this moment. The moment their eyes met, the hidden affection in each other's hearts began to spread quietly. They both could not help but kiss each other, and the distance between them afterward, with Soo-jin's absence, grew ever closer. The former trio became especially ambiguous because of Soo-jin's illness. But what Cheol-min did not know was that Tae-hyun had always regarded his love as charity and pity given after he was rejected by Soo-jin. So she changed their date venue at the last minute. They came to a bar. Tae-hyun drank herself into a stupor. Under the numbing effect of alcohol, she also spoke out the knot buried deep in her heart. Although she liked Cheol-min, she did not need his charity or pity. Tae-hyun walked straight to the middle of the road, as if everything around her had become the backdrop to her sorrow. Ignoring Cheol-min's attempts to stop her, Tae-hyun hailed a taxi passing by, and then drove away under Cheol-min's gaze. And this also became a chasm between the two. When Soo-jin learned that the two had quarreled, she dragged her weak body and brought Tae-hyun to find Cheol-min. To ease the awkwardness between them, she even sang a moving love song for them. The song was melodious and sweet, a dreamlike melody, flowing through the entire bar. The sentimental lyrics seemed to be telling of the regret and unwillingness in her heart. At the end of the song, for some reason, tears were already glistening in her eyes, and it was exactly on this night that Soo-jin formally decided to withdraw from this war without gunpowder.
가만히 있어봐.
어?
눈 좀 감아봐.
Sorrow is like autumn leaves. drifting desolately to the ground and carried away by the autumn wind, leaving no trace. Regret is like withered branches in deep winter, beating upon the sub-zero ground, yet buried deeply by the snowflakes. Soo-jin touched Cheol-min's cheek, her heart aching as if cut by knives. Her face was expressionless, but in reality, her inside had long cried until her heart broke. Nearly fainting, it was not until she set foot on the way home that she could no longer suppress the grief in her heart, and silently wept. By now, Cheol-min had finally confirmed the girl in his heart. The person he truly loved was Tae-hyun. So that night, he wrote a letter to Soo-jin, wanting her to help bring them together. In the end, he even asked Tae-hyun to deliver it to Soo-jin for him. Although she outwardly agreed to Cheol-min, in her heart she had other plans. The moment Cheol-min turned around, a faint glint of tears appeared in Tae-hyun's eyes. She mistakenly thought it was a love letter from Cheol-min to Soo-jin, so she tore it into pieces without hesitation. Afterward, Soo-jin was unfortunately diagnosed with a terminal illness. In her final moments, she read aloud to Tae-hyun a letter she had prepared in advance.
사랑하는 경인에게 오늘 많이 힘들었어. 혈액투석을 2번이나 하고 근육주사를 2대나 맞았으니까. 근데 꼭 참았어. 소리도 안 질렀어. 그때 무슨 생각하면서 참았는지 알아? 너랑 지환이야. 이따가 경희가 와서 지환이랑 재밌었던 얘기 해주겠지.
됐어. 그만해. 그냥 나 혼자 읽을게.
After Tae-hyun received the letter, Soo-jin took out another one. This one was for Cheol-min. She hoped Tae-hyun could deliver it to him on her behalf, but she greatly underestimated her own place in the other's heart. Ever since Soo-jin fell ill, Tae-hyun, depressed every day, also ended up in a wheelchair. Yet even so, she would still every morning greet her with her best self. Soo-jin would always chatter away by her ear like a talkative box, as if her cheerfulness could heal all her ailments.
경희야. 사랑해.
나도 너 사랑해.
This was their last words to each other. When dawn broke the next day, Soo-jin had already died in regret. Tae-hyun quietly lay on her body, their laughter and joy along the way flashing through her mind. The worldly experiences they had shared could no longer be replaced by any other feeling. Tae-hyun hated herself for being so selfish, never having properly accompanied Soo-jin before her death. After Soo-jin's funeral, Tae-hyun took down a clock hanging on the wall. Ignoring the pain in her hands, she punched and shattered the glass face of the clock. How she wished she could turn back time to the day they met Cheol-min. If that boy had never appeared in their lives, perhaps they would still be at peace now. But no matter how many circles she turned the clock back, that delicate face would never return. Finally, Tae-hyun also made her last farewell to Cheol-min. She planned to leave this sorrowful city, and the thread of affection between the two would ultimately be nothing more than a doomed fate and curse bestowed upon them by heaven. In this season of heavy snowfall, Cheol-min's heart was as cold and piercing as the wintry wind. He lost the two most important girls on this night, no matter what kind of bond it was. At this moment it all turned into a razor-sharp ice blade, piercing fiercely through his heart. In the following 5 years, the two never met again. They would only occasionally write letters to each other, to convey their longing for one another. But as her condition worsened, she still arranged to meet Cheol-min, because she wanted to make a final farewell with him. For herself, and even more so for Soo-jin. Only that when they met again, they no longer had the tacit understanding of the past. They caressed each other's cheeks, but at the moment their eyes met, they remained silent. How Cheol-min wished time could stop at this moment, so that they could always be them. Yet this wish was destined to become a fleeting, splendid firework. Later, the two attended a friend's wedding, and it seemed that within it, they completed a romantic encounter that belonged only to them. When Tae-hyun said goodbye, she also gave Cheol-min the letter from Soo-jin back then.
지환아 안녕. 먼 곳으로 떠나게 될 것 같아. 나 정말 가기 싫은데. 너랑 경희 보고 싶으면 어떡하지? 지환아, 경희를 부탁해. 말은 안 했어도 난 다 알아. 너희 둘 서로 좋아하고 있다는 거. 그래서 경희에 대해서 훈수 좀 두려고. 사랑하는 내 친구 지환아, 네가 끓여준 라면이 먹고 싶은 거지?
Then followed the farewell letter Hae-young left for him. There were not many words of farewell in the letter. Even though Hae-young also had thousands of regrets she wanted to tell him, she now chose to seal this love forever. Only that her own life was also approaching its end. She hoped Cheol-minute could attend her funeral and bring her ashes to be beside Soo-jin. In the future, in another world, they would surely turn into brilliant starlight in the night sky, illuminating Cheol-minute's life after the calamity. Later, Hae-young's life was forever frozen on that night. Only that the once inseparable ones had now become all alone. Some say Ye-jin is the one worthy of praise. She made concessions in both love and friendship, but even though she ultimately fulfilled everyone else, she alone was not fulfilled. Others say, Hae-young is a fake sister who abandons friends for love. But she also turned back midway, quietly accompanying Soo-jin when she was ill, and afterward never touched the happiness she had dreamed of. She received Soo-jin's blessing, but in truth, being with Soo-jin was the greatest fulfillment for her.